Hi, my name's Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Today we're reacting to, learning from, and analyzing Dimash's performance of Could Not Leave You.
So many times I wish I could leave, trying to find the one that is me. Nothing to hide, not be afraid. So many times I wish I could leave.
I love music videos. They're kind of fun in that they really let the performer, if they're engaged in this part of the movie, making and storytelling, and if not, somebody else's really clear vision of what this music makes them think of, which I think is really, really cool. It really kind of lets us jump into their head. I always love how he matches his vocal quality, what he's doing with his body, with the music and the storytelling. It all really works together in a seamless way every time he performs, and I love it.
You walking away, begging to me. You found another way, I believe.
Okay, hear that little bit of aspirate sound, that breathiness that's coming through? It creates this softer beginning, more intimate sound, almost on the edge of kind of a cry, makes us feel a little bit of the emotional impact of where he's going with this. And that matches what's going on with this music. It's really soft, quiet, emotional, and really well done.
So many times I wish I could leave, trying to find the one who's me. Nothing to hide, not be afraid. So many times I wish I could leave.
Okay, what are you getting from the story so far, just visually, and what you're seeing? Obviously, it's about death, but it's also the celebration of death and people who have left and honoring them and loving them. We're seeing these people who are honoring the dead. Really, here at the beginning, set up strong visual cues that have emotional reactions. Even if this isn't our native culture, love it. Yeah, he totally is. He set up the story, introduced it really well and really potently. What can we learn from this? We can learn that this first 30 seconds is really, really important. Sometimes just the first 10 seconds. We need to introduce this story, captivate our audience immediately, and the best way to do that is by connecting to a really strong, specific context that we respond to emotionally, that our audience will respond to emotionally, and that will bring us right in. That's important not just for our audience, but us as a performer to be able to visualize that in our mind, even if that's not what we're looking at. But when we're performing, we can see that world in front of us.
Holding her up when I could leave. Hear what you say can make it sound.
Okay, we're getting this sense of crescendo and in building of intensity. It's not as aspirate. He's much cleaner in his sound, and that makes us feel more connected, like there's growth to this. There's building intensity.
Nothing to hide, not up in front. So many times I wish I could leave. We're walking away, begging to me. You found another way, I believe.
Okay, we're getting this much more pop-like sound. He's not as open and tall in the back. It's a little bit collapsed, a little bit more horizontal in its shape, and more side to side rather than tall in this oropharynx in the back here. And consequently, we get this brighter, lighter, more youthful sound that isn't as mature and rich sounding. That's great. I think this adds to this sense of contrast that we're feeling here between people who are really alive and celebrating, but they're also celebrating death, and this youthful sound with this really intense emotion. I think the contrast between all the different elements really makes us think and engage in this in a really unique way, and captures the emotion of the song and what he's doing visually here. So I think it's really excellent. How do we go from this more aspirate tone to this cleaner sound? I think the first thing we need to do is to be able to go from extreme to extreme. So start by making really aspirate sounds. Start with a H sound or a WH sound, who or how, and try to start singing with a lot of air coming through first. Then try the glottal onset with the kind of sound, and making vocal production that way and seeing what that does. And then we can then start to explore in between here. I think you're going to find just by speeding up that air a little bit and finding a more balanced place, meaning that air's traveling fast but maybe not using as much volume of air, is going to help clean up that sound a little bit. We don't need more tension there. We just need to find the right balance of air. We can keep the same dynamic level. It doesn't mean we have to sing quieter to get breathier. We can actually keep the same dynamic level, but by going from breathier to a cleaner sound, it's going to sound more intense. It's going to sound like we're growing and making a crescendo, both emotionally and with the perception of that sound. So how do we stay at the same dynamic level, but get that clarity in it? Well, we need to decrease the volume of air and usually increase the velocity of that air. What does that mean? It means we need to use less air and have it go faster. How do you do that? You can use that stir straw. There's some exercises and videos that I've made or talked about later. You can just YouTube and Google it. There's a lot of interesting exercises with these stir straws. You can do a Z sound and try to vocalize on that Z sound. That's going to help you get that airflow a little more balanced. And there's a lot of other exercises, but that's essentially what's going on here. The key here is not to associate crescendo, intense emotion, with having to work harder or push harder. We can achieve a more intense emotional reaction from our audience with how we're shaping that sound and the sounds we're making, and not necessarily having to achieve it by pressurizing or forcing our voice. What are some ways we can do that? Higher notes are perceived as louder and more intense. Clear notes are perceived as more intense. More intensity through sharp contrast changes. And obviously we can increase the dynamic level as well, instead of doing it by force, by really accessing the resonant spaces here in the oropharynx and sinuses to increase the dynamic level and resonance without having to put more pressure on those vocal folds. Can we increase dynamics, and do we on some level need to do it by force of vocal fold closure and air coming through them? Yes, that's definitely another really important way we increase the dynamics, but not necessarily the one we need to go to first. There's a lot of other ways to achieve that same result of the audience's perception that it's getting louder and more intense without having to go there right off the bat immediately.
So many times I wish I could leave, trying to find the one is me. Nothing to hide, not be afraid. So many times I wish I could leave. So many times I wish I could leave, trying to find the one is me. Nothing to hide, not be afraid. So many.
Visually, one of the things that I love here is you'll notice the more intense the song gets, the bigger the actions get, and the bigger the subject matter. It just feels bigger because cinematically They're focused on things that are either bigger movement or bigger objects, which helps this crescendo. Is that all the way? No, they still have this ebb and flow in here. Like this picture we kind of stopped on here is really more intimate and calm. Notice it's kind of at the end of the phrase here. Love the storytelling. Even though this isn't him performing, it's the same kind of thing that we see in Dimash's live performances here in this music video, where everything's working together seamlessly to tell the story. Oh, music backs off and gets totally soft here at the end. What happens? We go from really bright, hot daytime celebration colors back to this nighttime dark, mute, warmer, softer colors. Awesome. I love it.
I could leave.
Interesting. Okay, in this, is there a point where he gets this more classical operatic sound that we often hear when he's performing? No, not really. Is there any moment in this song where it gets really bright and flashy and is really like, whoa, that's amazing? No. So what is this song about? Not Dimash. This song is about Dimash telling a story that he cares about. An artist who can take the stage and be the center of attention and really be showy and flashy and give the audience a good show when they need to, but then step out of the spotlight and shine their light and the focus somewhere else to give attention somewhere else with as much ease and grace and beauty as we see here. Again, the sign of a really excellent artist's heart and mind, and not just an artist's abilities and technical skill set, which he also obviously has. It's kind of fun to hear him just sing pop and sing this brighter, easier, lighter style and live there for a little bit, which also to me shows that he's choosing the sounds for the story. Sometimes it seems like when we're watching him that he's just showing it all off and it's just so impressive and we see it all every time, but that isn't the case. The more you watch his stuff, it isn't. What he is doing is choosing the right sound for the right moment. And in this moment, that kind of classical operatic sound didn't seem like the right fit for what he was doing. So he didn't do it. I love that his choices seem so deliberate. It's so amazing that he so deliberately makes each element fit with each other in a way that feels right, feels organic, feels true to the story more than anything else. If you want a voice lesson, a performance coaching, or want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier or perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartsstudio.com. I look forward to working with you online.